Welcome everybody back to another special episode of the Amateur Experts Podcast, where we are experts on absolutely nothing. And welcome to Week 7 money-making matchups, where we go over all of our favorite plays on the week. We give you free DFS lineups, free DraftKings lineups, and we'll just talk a little bit about what we expect the week to go. So without further ado, I'm host Landon Oliver here with my co-host Andrew Scott and our DFS guy, Jared Holly. What's going on, fellas? Y'all doing good?
Guy.
DFS
just doing good, man. Yeah, doing real good. Ready to get into some Week 7.
DFS guru.
He's got the star by his name for a reason, you know.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, I haven't made enough money to earn that star, but at least
no pressure.
No
pressure.
Did either one of you guys play the matchup last night? The Cleveland.
I did not, but I know you did.
No.
I rolled one lineup out.
Yeah,
it was. I didn't want to touch that really that game at all, man. Like it was so many injuries and everything else, and it was scary.
No, I did not. I had a hard time even enjoying that game in general. It was just a bad game to watch. I mean,
well, let me tell you, I started
football,
Donovan Peoples-Jones. If that tells you anything, right?
Oh, that's rough.
You were one of those that got railed, huh?
Yep. Absolutely.
I bet that better to hit that parlay for over 1 million. Really enjoyed watching that game last night, though.
He did.
Lord.
He did. Did you see the video of him?
Yeah.
A video of him celebrating.
I mean, Bleacher Report sent a guy from their betting, like their Bleacher Report betting community out there to watch the game with him. Like,
to be fair, I mean, he threw. It
was like a $20,000 parlay, right?
$30,000.
30. Yeah. So he's probably not hurting too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
So I'm sure that $1 million is just kind of icing for him, because if you can afford to throw 30 grand down on a parlay, like, you know,
$1 million is $1 million, but like,
right? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's not. Yeah, he's not hurting.
The risk was probably less for him than if us three got together and did a $30,000 parlay. I would be like hiding in the ground, like
I wouldn't make it out of the house. My wife.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I mean by hiding in the ground. Like I'd be 6 feet deep if I did something like that. So
yeah, for sure.
I'd be terrified
because that's the thing. Like, she wants a Jeep eventually. So if I'm throwing Jeep money down on a parlay to a football game, yeah, I'm getting murdered. So yeah, man, let's just get right into it. So I mean, like I said, we're Week 7. We're doing our money making matchups we do every week, where we go through our favorite matchups and player props on the week, and then we also give you a free DraftKings and FanDuel lineup to hopefully win some money and play along with us. And not only that, but then we also we have our own tournament, 10 teams, where you can join in with us, which we will have linked in the description. You can join in with us. It's only $1 to bet, and first place takes all the money. So yeah, you'll play against us 3 head to head on the week and see if you're better than we are. But there's 3 of us, there's 1 of you, so I'm betting one of us wins. Which I don't know. I mean, we haven't won one. We didn't win the last one. I actually got beat out by another guy. I came in second, but like, second doesn't win money, first does. So let's get right into it on our money making matchups. Since there are 3 of us, we divide the positions. We go running back, wide receiver, tight end, and we consensusly rank quarterbacks. And this week, the running backs, unfortunately, I had to do it last week. I love doing the running backs. We had a good week, but I believe now the running backs falls to one of you guys. I'm passing the torch. So go ahead and give us our running back rankings on the week. I know, I believe, Drew, you have running backs this week.
Yeah.
Lucky you. Jerry got the short end of the tight end stick again.
Yeah. The tight ends were the worst. I'm so glad that's behind me from last week. So
like, as a team, though, we've been killing tight end.
Yeah, we really haven't been doing too bad. Like, it's a sucky position to sort through, but the results really hadn't been that bad, though. So I guess we should stop dwelling on that so much. The quarterback is the one I think we need to start dwelling on.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But so running back smash. I really don't even have to change the screen here. I could just leave it on the thumbnail, but just for the sake of doing what we do, I'm going to go ahead and throw up my running back smash of the week.
And if you're a first-time listener or watcher, he's a Rams fan, so anytime he can put multiple Rams photos up, he's going to do it.
I'm gonna do it. But to be fair, I'm pretty sure this is the first time I picked a Rams player for a smash or anything this year. So I've tried to stay away from the bias, but this week I just couldn't help myself. And you can chalk it up to bias if you want to, but I do have other reasons aside from me being a Rams fan for loving Darrell Henderson this week. So first and foremost, Detroit is giving up the most points to the running back position so far through 6 weeks. We're talking about almost 30 points a week going to the running back position for fantasy. Darrell Henderson, through 6 weeks of the season, has seen 70% of the team's total rushing attempts, along with pulling in a 10% target share. Now, Sony Michel is starting to get a little bit more comfortable. He's starting to work into the offense a little bit more. He was traded to the Rams right before the season started. And while he's expected to play this week, he was dealing with some injuries and was banged up all week. He was a non-participant or limited in practice the majority of the week. They do expect him to play, but he is coming into the week banged up. So, I think Henderson will continue to see the majority of touches again this week. On top of the fantasy numbers that look great for Henderson this week, the Rams offensive line is also 6th in run block win rate, and the Lions are 28th in run stop win rate. So the Rams offensive line doing really well in run blocking. The Lions defensive line is not stopping running backs. And then just the icing on the cake is that the interior defender with the worst run stop win rate in the entire NFL, one of the guys that's going to be clogging the middle trying to stop the run, is Nick Williams from the Detroit Lions, the worst interior defender on run stop win rate. So it's all kind of just lining out to be a huge week for Henderson this week. I think that the Rams get up early. I think that they run the ball plenty. Now, I do have 2 concerns for this. The first one being the Rams go full revenge game narrative and let Stafford throw much more than he will probably need to in this game, just to kind of, prove the point that they needed to make this trade, and that Matt Stafford is just that good, and just let him hang it up on his old team. And then 2, I think that there's a decent chance that they're up really big in the fourth quarter and they possibly start pulling some starters, and possibly Henderson concede some carries in the fourth quarter that he otherwise wouldn't. So there are, those variables in there. But if you've got Darrell Henderson on your team with how well he's played, and then with all the injuries and bye weeks and stuff, you're obviously not even considering setting Darrell Henderson. He's a smash play for me because I think he is going to be a top 3 running back this week. And so, obviously you're playing him, but I'm saying you should be expecting big things. And I don't think I'll build a single DFS lineup that doesn't have him in it, because I think he's like the 4th or 5th priced running back in most places. So that is my running back smash for this week.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think he has a very good shot to end up as running back 1 overall. Although I do kind of worry, this is a Matt Stafford revenge game against the Lions. I'm worried they might let him throw quite a bit in this game. But the good news is with that, they're probably going to have a big lead. Even as
Darrell Henderson catches the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And he does a great job out of the backfield catching as well, to your point. So I think this is a fantastic matchup and very good shot of ending up as running back 1 overall. So if he's in your lineup, which he should be anyway, especially after the tear he's been on recently, but good chance you have a very good smash candidate for DFS.
Yeah, they've got a 33, them alone, this as the team, Vegas has them at 33 points. Like they have the highest.
That's a great point implied total.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point, you definitely want to roll out running backs with that kind of, Detroit's point total is 16 right now. Like, so yeah, like it's definitely, Stafford, yeah, he could easily go off. But I'm with you, man. I think this is an absolute smash position. I think in DFS, like you can be very weird about this and actually play Sony Michel in a flex and play Darrell Henderson. Because their team in total is at 33 points. That's ridiculous. That means a lot of people could score. That doesn't mean Cooper Kupp couldn't score, or Robert Woods, or anybody, or Tiger. There's all kinds of options in that game. But Henderson would be my person to come out of that game that I would want most exposure to.
Yeah, especially like if we're doing prop bets and where you're talking about like if you're doing a parlay and you have first touchdown score, that would be a wonderful option. Would be Darrell Henderson in this game.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah, now we get
running
to
back
the
smash.
yeah,
so,
that's the positive. So now let's get to the negative. I know
right.
negativity sells. So let's get to the negativity.
So this one's going to hit home for you guys because it is a feature of the Colts game, and I'm passing on running back Elijah Mitchell from the San Francisco 49ers. And I am a little nervous about this pick, but I also have some reasons why I feel good about it. So the Colts are the fourth best fantasy defense against stopping the run. They're only giving up an average of 15.7 points each week, which is a really low number. So now, I will say that prior to the week 6 bye, in week 5, Mitchell did return from the injury. He went right back to dominating the running back snaps. He played almost 70% of the snaps, handled most of the work for the 49ers backfield. And I expect more of the same this week as well. And, if you hear you have a guy that's close to a workhorse role for the Kyle Shanahan-led San Francisco 49ers, who are historically really great at running the ball, you probably have higher expectations than a back-end running back 2 coming out of that. But with the matchup here in place, that is what I am expecting to come from Elijah Mitchell. Whenever I say pass, I'm not saying you can't start him, but I'm saying I don't think he is going to be a running back 1 this week, and I think he finishes toward the back end of the running back 2. Now, one thing he does have going in his favor is Jimmy G will be starting this game, so he's not going to steal near as many carries from the running back position as Trey Lance would if he was starting. So he does have that going for him, but the Colts defense is just really, really good against the run. And Shanahan is almost starting to become Bill Belichick-esque in terms of how he has used running backs and like with the unpredictability. Now, it was very predictable in week 5 how it went, so we'll see if that trend continues. But even if it does, I don't think you're going to get the production that you would hope to be getting from him. But like I said, with the bye weeks, injuries, stuff like that, you're not setting him. But DFS, maybe look other directions, and then if you do have him in your redraft lineups, just temper expectations.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on a few more points to that as well. Let's not forget they did activate JaMychal Hasty today from injury reserve. So now he is back in the picture along with all those other running backs. On top of that, Trent Williams is questionable and leaning towards not being available in this game. So they also lose Trent Williams, who has been by far the best left tackle and one of probably the top 2 or 3 best offensive linemen in football on the year, and a huge reason why that running game is so successful. So yeah, he's going to be out. Michael Hasty's back. DeForest Buckner is already said, returning to San Francisco. This is a game that he's taking a little more personal than a normal game. And one thing you don't want to go up against is a pissed off DeForest Buckner. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that, kind of add up to me not wanting to go anywhere near Elijah Mitchell, as well as if you haven't seen the weather report, they are talking about it being a potential downpour. So you could see a lot more sloppy play in this game, but that also could lead to a little bit more rushing attempts, as well as you don't want to pass in high winds and rain. But I mean, we'll see what happens for sure. But yeah, I'm not on Elijah Mitchell either this week. I think this is a bad matchup, along with, like I said, combined with Trent Williams gone, JaMychal Hasty's back, and we know how much Shanahan loved JaMychal Hasty whenever he was.
He does.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I'm not playing Elijah Mitchell.
All right. So
Jared,
anything to add on Elijah?
No, that's definitely a fade. I think for all those reasons and above, Indianapolis does not give up a lot to the running backs. That's not been their Achilles, and they're getting healthy too. So yeah, I definitely feel like that's a good pick.
Yeah. I mean, the Colts have been limiting running backs to that low of a number while also being a very beat up team. So, take that in consideration too. The run defense could be even better if the defense as a whole had been healthy all year. So
yeah, to an extent, Kwity Paye should be back. And then also, unfortunately, they did lose Julian Blackmon, who has been a big reason why they've been so good against the run, with his ability to play closer to the line of scrimmage and tackle running backs. So they did lose him. So for the year with an Achilles tear. So I mean, even though they're getting healthier, it's just attrition over there in Indianapolis. They get one guy back and they lose 2 more. So that's just the way it works.
So moving on from the running back past my running back sleeper, I just talked about Bill Belichick and how lovely it is to try to predict what he does with running backs. And so naturally, I'm going to pick a New England Patriots running back.
That's what this show's all about. That's what we try to do.
Yeah, so Rhamondre Stevenson is my running back sleeper this week. The New York Jets, who the Patriots face this week, are giving up the second most points to the running back position on a weekly basis with 28.8 fantasy points, just short of what the Detroit Lions are doing. Now, I do expect Damian Harris to be the lead back in this game, like he has been, the majority of this year. But we did see Stevenson get involved in both the run game and the pass game last week. I believe he had his season high in targets, caught all three of them. He didn't look good in pass protection, which is concerning. If you blow too many of those reps, Belichick might not want you out there. But whenever he was targeted, he did look good catching the ball. And then most importantly, whenever they got on the goal line at one point in the game, they were on the 1 yard line. They put Stevenson in, gave him the ball, and he converted the goal line touch into a touchdown. So he is starting to get a little bit more involved. This is a Jets team that I would expect them to be up on. And I think that you could possibly see a trend of Rhamondre Stevenson continuing to get more and more involved. And like I said, I think Damian Harris is the main guy here, but I do think that Stevenson has some nice flex appeal this week with a little bit of upside if things bounce his way. I mean, well, Damian Harris is one fumble away from going missing the rest of the game. So, same for Stevenson. He misses a couple of, if he misses a couple of pass blocking reps, then he could do the same thing. It's the joy of Bill Belichick and the running back position with fantasy. But I do think that he could have some possible upside this weekend. So that's a guy that a lot of teams probably weren't planning on wanting to play this week, but with the bye weeks and injuries you've already talked about this week, you might be forced into a situation where you have to consider it. And I'm telling you that it could work out a little bit better than you think. So.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add on Stevenson. I do like the talent. He's actually been a little bit better in the passing game than I projected him to be coming in. He's done pretty well with some of the screens and passing work he's been given. So that's another dimension to his game that he's added. If he can find a way to get a decent workload, he definitely has the talent to produce.
Jared, anything on Stevenson? I know. I know.
I mean, it's a deep sleeper, but I'm not against it. He is getting some passing work, which goes a long way. Someone else I feel like could be it's weird. It's a weird situation, man, because it's the Jets and they are just not very good right now. But Michael Carter could be sneaky as well. But that game's got two people I can easily be kind of sneaky, but I'm with you on Stevenson. I think his target, he got 3 targets, I think, last week.
Caught all 3 of them. Yeah. And looked good doing it, which to Landon's point, I didn't think he was going to be much of a factor in the pass game either. But I mean, whenever James White goes down for the year, somebody has to step up, and it looks like Stevenson's, trying to make his mark in that fashion so he can get more reps. So
we know Damian Harris is not catching the ball. So
no, he's not.
Damian Harris has been that. Damian Harris has been kind of a letdown. I thought he was going to have a big year.
Yeah, he's looked okay. Just between the tackles running the football, I think he broke the 100-yard mark last week. But I agree that I do think the hype that surrounded him coming into the season hasn't exactly matched up with what we've got on the field so far this year. So that's just another reason to stash Stevenson, because he could be one of those guys that gains momentum down the stretch and turns into a league winner. Who knows?
Yeah, anything is possible in New England.
That's right. So that wraps up the running backs for me and transitions us to the wide receivers, which I believe Landon is handling for us this weekend.
Yes. Love the wide receiver position. Glad I get to do it this week. And it is a great week for it because a lot of these guys, you're dealing with bye weeks and stuff like that. And there's a lot of injuries. So there's a lot of opportunity here for a lot of wide receivers. So we're just going to pop right off into it with the news that Antonio Brown is out, which leaves a lot of targets open. It will force Tom Brady to actually target Chris Godwin this week. If you've owned Chris Godwin so far this year, you have been not necessarily disappointed, but you haven't been really excited. You guys been a rock solid wide receiver too for your fantasy team almost every game. He is yet to have a big game. A lot of that has to do with Antonio Brown. The good news is Chris Godwin has the most red zone targets among wide receivers with 14 red zone targets, has only caught 2 touchdowns. So you do have some positive regression there, along with the fact that they are now going against, he's now going to be lined up against Xavier Crawford, who is allowing a 75% catch rate and 1.16 yards per route covered. This should be a fantastic matchup there in Chicago. And then, like I said, Antonio Brown's out. You're looking at, or let me rephrase that. Chris Godwin has 13 red zone targets, not 14. It's 13 red zone targets. I know we're one off, but we want to be as accurate as we can.
It is still most in the league, though. That part's still accurate.
Yes, and he has, like I said, only 2 touchdowns. So you do have some pretty good positive regression headed his way. So this might be finally the week that Tom Brady has a chance to feed Chris Godwin there in Chicago. And I think that's going to be a smash matchup for him as well, going up against the cornerbacks there. And yeah, I'm all in on Chris Godwin this week.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm definitely on board with this pick. I think that this is going to be a huge Chris Godwin week. And he's just like, if you just watch him play football, he's just a great wide receiver that runs great routes. He is constantly open, and whatever love affair that Brady has with Antonio Brown, I mean, it's clearly like it's a thing. But this week it can't be a thing. And his other love of
Rob Gronkowski's also out.
Yeah, he's not going to be out there either. So if you go back to, I believe it's like week 9 or week 10 of last year where Godwin got healthy, Antonio Brown the acquisition had happened. If you go back to that point, I think Godwin still leads the team in targets. So Brady is comfortable throwing to him. It's just for whatever reason, the volume hasn't been there as much up to this point this year. So I do think that this is a get right game for Godwin, and it's going to make a lot of Godwin owners happy this week.
Yeah, and as a Godwin owner myself, I'm hoping to be one of those. So throw him into your DFS lineups if you can. And if you're playing him, don't expect a wide receiver 2 performance. Have a little more expectations. Let's go get a wide receiver 1 performance finally for Chris Godwin this year. Which brings me now into another perennial wide receiver 1 that I think is going to disappoint this week. And that is, this is a hot take right here. Ja'Marr Chase, the rookie stud receiver who we love on the show. We absolutely love Ja'Marr Chase. Unfortunately, I just think this might be the week that he looks like a rookie. The Ravens are giving up the 7th fewest points to opposing wide receivers on the week, as well as T. Higgins now has another week where he is getting healthier. He's back in the lineup last week. Ja'Marr Chase has been extremely efficient with downfield targets, almost like at a historical rate. He only had 6 targets last week, even with T. Higgins' first week back. Caught 4 of those for almost 100 yards. Now he gets up, to go against Marlon Humphrey and those Ravens safeties. And Marlon Humphrey, as we all know, is no joke. Tough matchup for any wide receiver, much less a rookie who has yet to face him. Now, Ja'Marr Chase does have the talent, obviously, to just one catch is all it takes with Ja'Marr Chase. All it takes is just one bomb, and we know Joe Burrow loves Ja'Marr Chase. They have a fantastic chemistry. Like I said, I just don't think you're going to get that wide receiver 1 performance this week out of him. I think this has to do with matchup, as well as it just being a great learning experience for him this week on what it's like to go up against an elite top 5 cornerback in the NFL. So yeah, it's a bold take, but it's one that I'm kind of sticking by. And if I have him in my lineup, obviously you're not setting him, but I just think you need to temper expectations. Maybe expect more of a wide receiver 2 week than his normal top 5-6 wide receiver on the week level of production.
Yeah, this
I'm
one's
with you.
tough, man. With Chase, it only takes one play to blow everything up. So that like receivers like that, it's always tough.
Yeah.
But it also, if it only takes one play and you're relying on one play, if that one play doesn't happen, then this call is going to be sitting pretty. So, but it's I do. Your logic is sound. I agree with that part. I think that, this is going to be a tough one for him to perform. But
I think you're looking at, like I said, I think for me, he's more of a mid-range wide receiver 2, possibly low-range wide receiver 2 this week.
Yeah, like wide receiver 20 type of thing.
Yeah, kind of back in that 20 to 24 area.
Yeah,
I think this game's gonna be close. I do. I think a lot of people have got Baltimore to blow them out, but I think it's gonna be close. And I don't know if Jamar Chase is gonna be. I am with you guys. I think he's the fade. I think the guy to play in this lineup for Cincinnati is Joe Mixon. And I know like I'm beat the drum for Joe Mixon constantly, but I feel like this could be a game for him because I do feel like Baltimore does struggle against running backs a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And Mixon has the ability to catch the ball in the backfield. And if they do get down, I don't think he's coming off the field. He's pretty high right now in just like overall like volume and for running backs too. Like I think he's the pivot from Jamar Chase. I think those wide receivers are going to have a difficult time against Baltimore.
Yeah, so Baltimore is giving up about 23 points each week to the running back position, which is 12th worst in the league. So they are a plus matchup for running backs based on what's happened through the first 6 weeks. And then if you look at the wide receiver position, they are, let's see here, they are 27th in terms of like the 27th toughest. Like it's a tough matchup. So the numbers add up with what Landon's talking about here. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And now to get into my sleeper, and we're actually staying in the same game. We're not having to go far for this one. And I think this is the week, which I mean, granted, it's only been last week, but now this week, I think this is the rookie wide receiver in this game you're going to want to throw out there. And that is Rashod Bateman, wide receiver, first round pick for the Baltimore Ravens. Last week, they said they're going to ease him in. They're going to ease him into the scheme. They don't want to throw too much on his plate too early. He led the team in targets.
Yeah, I was going to say so much for that.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're easing him in and he's leading the team in targets, I think this is fantastic news. The good news or the bad news is that with those targets, one of them he did bobble, which turned into an interception. So, I mean, there's clearly some growing pains. That being said, the guy he's such a great route runner. If you actually watch the film, he was just wide open constantly. And Lamar was targeting him. Now Sammy Watkins is out again. They actually rolled out Latavius Murray as well. So they're going to have a little bit more of a stable of running backs that they're going to see. Obviously with Lamar, it doesn't matter who you roll out there at running back. You're probably going to get decent production. But that being said, Lamar has been absolutely fantastic throwing the ball this year. He's taken that leap. And I think with Cincinnati, this is going to be a game, like Jared said, that's going to be closer than what people are going to think it is. I think they're going to focus on stopping the run. Cincinnati's actually been surprisingly a good defense against the pass and the run. That's probably the most surprising defense in the league to me, because I thought they would be among like one of the absolute worst units. And they've actually been a really, really solid unit. So outside of that, like I said, he has a 22% target share in his first game where they're talking about easing him back in. I think he actually takes another leap this year. He knows what it's like to be in an actual NFL game. He was already a fantastic player, coming into the game last week. And I don't think you were necessarily disappointed, but with the bipocalypse this week, this is a guy that if you have him on your bench or you were able to get him off of waivers early this week, he's a guy that I think you can throw out there with some confidence. I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but they're projecting him to be a wide receiver 4, and I think he finishes as a wide receiver 2 on the week. And I think he actually outscores Jamar Chase in this game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I know whenever we were doing our NFL mock draft shows, now I did have Devontae Smith over him in my wide receiver rankings, but just in terms of my favorite wide receivers to watch. It was him and Jamar Chase were 1 and 2 for me. And the reality is you can try to ease him in all you want to, but if you're going to put him on the field, he's going to get open. So even if you ease him in, he's going to demand targets because the guy's going to be open. It's just, it's what he does. So this will be the noon game I probably spend the majority of my time watching, just with having Jamar Chase and Rashod Bateman on the field at the same time, and just the whole division battle of it and things like that. I think it'll be a good game, and it's got 2 of my favorite rookies playing in it. So I like this call a lot. I love Rashod Bateman. Sign me up for anytime we get to talk good about Rashod Bateman, sign me up. So I like this call quite a bit.
Yeah, and something else before we end and go into the tight end scenario, I just wanted to point out as well with Rashod Bateman, all 4 of his catches last week turned into first downs. So even though he did bobble that one and it turned into an interception, it's clear that Lamar is starting to trust him with the target share and his ability after the catch to gain those first downs and move the chains. So that's only going to bode well for him in the future.
Absolutely.
I like Baltimore's wide receivers in this game a lot. I like Marquise Brown a lot in this game too. Devin Duvernay, like he's kind of a gadget guy. I like him in this game as well. I think he gets several snaps and like he can make some noise. Like but we'll touch on tight end and who I don't like. Just
yeah.
But
and also
this is a good pick, Wayne.
Yeah, and he's also a great prop bet guy if you're doing any kind of parlays or single player prop bets. His over receptions on the week is 2.5 for 145 under, and that's at Caesar's Sportsbook. So me personally,
smash that one.
Yeah, I am betting the over on that one for sure. So if that would be something you guys would want to look to parlay into a kind of a larger prop bet, Rashod Bateman over 2.5 receptions is something I would definitely look towards.
I like it. So that takes us then to the dreaded
tight ends.
Right.
The sexy position.
Yeah. So we'll let Jared kick us off.
All right. So the smash of the week is Darren Waller. Darren Waller this season, like outside of one game, has not lived up to Darren Waller's standards, and I think this is the week he gets it right. I think the Raiders without Gruden, I feel like this could be a team that's trying to make a statement, and there's a lot of good plays in this game.
They certainly made one last week.
They did, and anytime Darren Waller is on the field, he is a wide receiver. Like he's in the tight end position as a wide receiver. I think they get it right this week. I think Waller's gonna have a big game. I think he's gonna have 10 receptions and over 100 yards this week. And with a touchdown, I'm confident in saying that too. I think Waller is going to be the guy this week. And I think he finishes in the top 3 in tight ends this week.
Yeah,
I like it. That's where you draft him to be. That's where most people are putting their money on. And like you said, outside of basically 1 week, he really hadn't been there this year. So this is
the targets.
The good news. Yeah, I was gonna say the good news is even though the targets fell off some, he is still one of the top 2 to 3 wide receivers in routes ran.
Yes,
and he's also still a very highly targeted tight end, even though it's not obviously the 30 targets he saw in the week 1 game.
Yeah, Carr this year spread the ball a lot more than what anyone thought he was going to.
Carr's looked fantastic.
He really has. Like he's had a good year, man. Like he's not really had a bad year at all. But I think this is the week for Waller, and I think he definitely cooks this week. Big time.
Let's go. So I'm starting him also. So I have a lot of high stakes in Darren Waller this week.
There you go. Well, the fate is going to be it's going to be kind of controversial, but it's Mark Andrews who has completely balled out the last few weeks too. Andrews has looked fantastic, and he kind of looks like Lamar's number 1 guy again. But I do feel like this is the week for the Baltimore wide receivers. I think Andrews, like at the end of the day, like he's still going to have some receptions. I don't think he gets in the end zone this week. I think it's going to be Marquise Brown and Rashod Bateman. And I said Duvernay, like I kind of have this feeling like it's weird because Cincinnati's good against the run, and sometimes they got to run these gadget plays in order to get the running game going to kind of open up. he could be a sneaky play. I just don't trust Andrews this week. I just have a hunch on it. Definitely the talent is there, but I think it's a wide receiver week for Baltimore.
Yeah, to back up your wide receiver point with that, I know, we just talked about Rashod Bateman, but Cincinnati has actually allowed the 4th most receptions in the league against wide receivers.
Yeah, and they're speaking of the number 4. This is going to be a pick that if you hit on this one as well, you've made a couple of bold pass calls the past couple of weeks at both running back and receiver, and both of them worked. Like, this isn't, it's not like you made bold calls just for the sake of trying to be bold and they didn't pay off. Like you've been, but this one in particular, man, with the hot streak he's on, and then the fact that
he's been red hot.
The Cincinnati Bengals are.
I believe he's been tight end 1 over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, but the Bengals are 4th worst against the tight end from a fantasy points perspective. So, putting this out there for people and letting them know they should temper expectations whenever most people are probably expecting a huge week, giving his hot streak and Cincinnati's vulnerability. This could be a big one for the show. So I'm playing Mark Andrews in one league this week, but if he can have a bad week to help benefit this show, I'm all for it. So this is a bold call, a couple of bold calls from you guys. So I like it, man.
Yeah, Andrews is a stud. I mean, he's definitely a stud. I just have this hunch, man. I think it's going to be the wide receivers this week. I really do.
Gotta trust your gut.
And sometimes too, man, when people get red hot, they fizzle at some point.
It's got to end eventually, right?
Yep. And I think this is the week it does. So. And then the complete and utter, this one is very dangerous. He was everyone's lover boy before the season started. A lot of people were on Cole Kmet. He has not delivered whatsoever. One thing that Cole Kmet has going for him, though, and he is on the field. And at the end of the day, if you're looking for a dart throw at tight end, this is it. They're going to have to pass the ball. Most likely they are going to trail in this game. Cole Kmet is on the field over 82%, which is a high snap count, especially at the tight end position, which gets rotated out quite often on most teams outside of the elite tight ends. He is only behind Kittle, Waller, Higbee, Kelsey, and TJ Hawkinson as far as being on the field as a tight end. Like I said, it's a dart throw, and definitely the production's not been there throughout the year, but Fields is going to have to pass the ball in order to keep up. And Tampa is good against stop and run. So the Khalil Herbert pick that we had last week, I would not go back to that one this week. It could be a Cole Kmet falls in the end zone kind of week and hopefully gets you 3 receptions.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Tampa's really difficult to run on, but you can beat them through the air, and they're giving up the 8th most fantasy points to tight ends on the year so far. So you've got a team that's going to have to throw the ball, and you've got a tight end that's on the field a ton, and a defense that is, giving up points at will to the tight end position. So I think that this is a great call, and I've already had a couple of different DFS lineups that has Cole Kmet in there because he's a great, if you want to put studs in other, positions in your lineup, he's a great way to save some cash on the back end too. So I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, he's dirt cheap, and I do believe Jimmy Graham tested positive for COVID.
He did.
Well,
He did.
So
he's
snaps could even go up even higher.
He could be 90 plus.
Yeah. And so, as long as Matt Nagy, doesn't, do the Matt Nagy, we all know a young rookie quarterback's best friend is a solid tight end. So, I agree. I think this is a fantastic play this week. And Justin Fields, granted, he hasn't really played up to expectations. I think that he still looks, he's shown flashes, and that's what you look for. So, I don't think you can write the book on him, 3-4 weeks in. And I think this could be a game that surprises a lot of people. I don't think they're going to beat. I don't know if they'll necessarily win the game, but I think this is going to be a good game.
Yeah.
They're not facing Aaron Rodgers. So
no.
That's already a win for Bears fans.
They get to take a break from their owner.
Yeah. Brutal. So yeah, now we'll move into the consensus quarterback rankings where we all 3 get together. We come up with our quarterbacks and we give you some options. Granted, this is the most difficult position, weirdly, even outside of tight ends, because we're basically deciding between we basically do it as like a 12-team league because I think that's the most common size, 10 to 12 teams. And there's 32 quarterbacks. So you're trying to look through 12 guys out of 32 guys. There's not a lot of options there. We all know who the great quarterbacks are. So taking some long shots hasn't necessarily paid off for us this season on the quarterbacks as much as it has all the other positions. But this week we're going to adjust it a little bit. And with Rashod Bateman, we also want to pair him with Lamar Jackson, who has crazily been better this year than he was when he won MVP in 2019. The guy's just on an absolute tear with Latavius Murray being out as well. I think this could be a big rushing performance for Lamar Jackson, over 100 yards on the ground to go along with those fantastic wide receiver production that Jared has hit on and that I hit on with my sleeper pick with Rashod Bateman. So yeah, I have no qualm saying that Lamar Jackson to me is a top 3 quarterback on the week. Just me personally, that's not throwing you guys in there with that, but that's just, my personal feelings. Whether you agree or not is up to you.
I agree 100%. Like with Lamar Jackson, he can kill you in so many ways, and he's coming off a bad week up to his standards, man. Like he played a great game, but fantasy wise, it was not a good Lamar Jackson week.
Yeah, because they got up so big, they didn't need him.
Right. And for DFS, I really hope that chapped a lot of people's asses and they don't go to him this week. That they're like, oh, I played him last week and he got me 19 points. Yeah, please don't play him again, because that's definitely a quarterback we'd be all over. Drew, what do you think?
I think he's good for top 5. Top 3 makes me a little nervous, to be honest, because there's just a lot of guys that I like a lot this week. Like one of my favorite plays this week, Aaron Rodgers is one of my favorites this week, going up against Washington, and then you've got Mahomes against Tennessee, Kyler
Murray against Houston. Oof.
Yeah. Stafford against his old team in Detroit and that terrible defense. So there's a lot of the top quarterbacks have some great matchups to go with them, but Lamar Jackson is also in that category as well. So it could definitely happen. But I would feel much more safe putting my money on top 5 than top 3, but it would not shock me to see it happen though. But let's just, throwing a couple other options out there for people too.
Right. Yeah. There's some fantastic matchups this week to go along. I don't think
a ton.
Yeah. You can look at so many guys, especially during the bye week. When we're missing so many guys, a lot of the guys we're missing at the quarterback position outside of Josh Allen are not that great quarterbacks, which only leaves great quarterbacks this week. So if you've got one of these guys, it's a rough week to own Josh Allen, and me as a Josh Allen owner, I'm actually having to throw in Jameis Winston. So as good as a bet as anybody to throw 5 touchdowns as well as throw 5 interceptions. You never know with famous. So let's get into our quarterback pass on the week. And that is none other than Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers. Jared last week had a fantastic play with his set of the week, and that was with DJ Moore, who did not do much of anything. A lot of that is due to the play of Sam Darnold, who looks like he has come back down to earth and joined the New York Jets all over again. It's amazing how production falls whenever Christian McCaffrey is not in that lineup. Robbie Anderson, for whatever reason, has been non-existent, even though he did actually catch a touchdown, I believe, last week. But Robbie Anderson has not played up to standards. DJ Moore has had a rough week. The offensive line has been getting killed. And just looking over this, like I said, there's so many fantastic quarterbacks with great matchups this week. I think it's just going to be hard for Sam Darnold to break into that top tier quarterback play this week. So just for me personally, I don't think he finishes in the top 10. And he's a guy that a lot of his production early on in the season, whenever he was producing, came with his legs. And he hasn't had that same opportunity once those rushing yards kind of went away and those rushing touchdowns disappeared. He is, really come back down to earth for fantasy, and he's finished, I believe, as a bottom quarterback 2, quarterback 3, without those rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he had 5 rushing touchdowns in the first.
He
3
led
or 4
the league.
weeks, something like
led
that.
the league. After week 3, he led the league in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
even over Derrick Henry. So
yeah, that was bound to to come back to the mean at some point. And he definitely looked like he was seeing ghost again last week. And Robbie Anderson wasn't doing any favors with the drops. Robbie Anderson had several drops last week, and it's so weird to see him and DJ Moore were both double-digit targets, and neither one of them came away with much of anything for it. Normally, whenever you think of two receivers with their caliber of talent getting that much volume, you think, oh wow, they had great games that week, and it wasn't the case for either one of them. So it'll be interesting. I mean, looking at, they like this. Look, with the bye weeks, with the injuries, if you look at Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings, which is what we reference a lot on this show, just because it's so many different fantasy experts, all of their rankings put into one to give you, kind of a consensus. He's still a QB1 in these rankings, and a lot of that is because he is playing the New York Giants, who just absolutely bleed fantasy points at the quarterback position. And so a lot of people are probably going to be feeling like that they can start him this week. And so, that anytime I see a quarterback playing the New York Giants, it makes me nervous to say that you need to fade him. But with how bad, if you just watch the games with how bad Darnold's looked, it's tough to argue. So.
Yeah, like a lot of players, like I said, they have him as a top 10 option on the week. And I just think, even though he is one of these quarterbacks with a great matchup, I just don't know. The Giants are they're such a weird team as well. Like that defense at any moment can play well. And then
they are at home too.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But yeah, if you're forced into playing Sam Darnold, I don't think you're going to be necessarily disappointed due to the bipocalypse, as it's been called this week. But I just don't think he breaks into that upper echelon of performers, even with.
I think they're going to keep him on a short leash too, because the defense has played extremely well, even in losses, to where like Darnold's cost him games. Like, and that's when like coaching staff start like really being hard on quarterbacks and taking the ball out of their hands. I think it could be a Chuba Hubbard kind of day.
I like Chuba a lot this week.
Yeah, I definitely think he would be my preferred player in that game over DJ Moore, who I think will bounce back. And definitely Robbie Anderson's been awful this year outside of catching that touchdown. That is the only thing that salvaged his week. But Hubbard, I like Hubbard a lot. Yeah, Sam Darnold's a fade for sure.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you got a quarterback that has to deal with staring down James Bradbury on the other side of the field too, and he was just a great corner that I still feel like does not get the respect he deserves. If Darnold throws his way at all this week, I don't expect that to go well for him either. So, I could definitely see this one going bad for him.
Yeah, and now to get into our quarterback sleeper to end the players, and that is none other than the Deshaun Watson trade rumor golden boy. And then it's Tua Tagovailoa. Look, don't hate me on that. I don't know necessarily how to say his last name, like the majority of everybody. But look, we're just going to call him Tua. So Tua is going to be our sleeper of the week. I believe if you can pull up the consensus rankings.
Yeah.
Let's see where we have him in Fantasy Pros. Quarterback 13 going up against Atlanta.
Right below Sam Darnold.
Yeah, right below Sam Darnold. And I would much rather play Tua over Sam Darnold. I think the matchup is a lot better. They don't have James Bradbury on the other side as well. So that's always a positive. Now, Devontae Parker, I believe, is still injured, which could be a hindrance. But this week, I think Tua might have a little bit extra to prove because of all the rumors this week. I think he's going to try to show that, Miami, you don't need to trade all your picks to go get Deshaun Watson because you have a franchise guy right here that you already have. So let's build around me. Jalen Waddell has been absolutely great as a rookie. He's looked fantastic as well. So even though Devontae Parker's out, he's there. And then, of course, we have the always ever reliable randomly Mike Gesicki. So as soon as Andrew buried Mike Gesicki, he has done nothing but
literally that week.
Yeah, literally that week it was Andrew said
he was terrible all season until that week. Oh my God.
They've been lining him up as a wide receiver here recently.
He doesn't play tight end. He literally does not line up in line. I think like 10% of snaps or some shit he lines up in line. Like he is a wide receiver playing tight end. So go figure, man.
Yeah. Rough.
So just a couple other options as well. Matt Ryan against Miami in that same game, he is up at quarterback 11, but with how he's coming off a bye, so there is a chance he's out there on your waiver wire. So if you need a spot start, if you are the Josh Allen owner, I think Matt Ryan could be an option that could also be available for you. And then Justin Fields against Tampa. It has not looked good for him up until this point, but they're going to have to throw the ball if they want to compete in this game. And Fields has looked better each and every week. So it would be very, very risky to play him. But the matchup is there. And for whatever, I don't know. I don't understand the Allen Robinson usage. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know how you can have someone that talented on your team and not get him the ball more often. But I mean, he's surrounded by talented pass catchers, and he's got a great matchup. So it's a little more risky, but could be rewarding too if it hits. So just a couple other options outside of Tua as well.
Yeah, and with Tua also, for whatever reason as well, Miami has completely gone away from the run game as well. So they're throwing the ball a lot. So
yeah, that's true.
He's going to have a lot of opportunity there. As well to try to make some plays in the passing game.
So then that takes us into everybody's favorite segment of the week of how can we get a little bit more rich than we were last week. So
yeah, and I'm all about that. So hopefully we can all retire together on Tuesday.
That'd be lovely.
I'm gonna go ahead and get my phone out, pull up the FanDuel app, and let Jared tell me how I'm gonna make some money this weekend.
Yes.
All right. So we'll start with FanDuel. And so one thing we definitely we want exposure to that Kansas City, Tennessee. Let me pull up my thing here. I'm sorry, guys. I was a little unprepared for that. Okay. Yeah, we definitely want exposure to Kansas City and Tennessee.
Yes.
And how we're going to get there, we have to save money. So with our sleeper at quarterback, I'm going to go with Tua at quarterback. We're going to pair Tua with Mike Gesicki because right now Gesicki has just went bananas, and I feel like it doesn't change against Atlanta. I think Waddle's definitely in play too. Like if people want to go to Waddle, there's ways around that. At running back, it's Derrick Henry, and at this point, like, what do you say? Like if you don't start Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has a bad game at this point. He's still over 100 yards, and and they're playing Kansas City. So Derrick Henry is definitely the man. This one right here is a little bit kind of controversial, and I think it's based on volume alone, and we got to save some money if we're going to play this Kansas City, Tennessee game. Is it Devin Booker from New York Giants?
Deontay.
Deontay, Devin Booker. Oh, my God. NBA started, if you can tell. But but this guy is all they have in the backfield, man. He's going to get the volume. It's not the most ideal situation because Carolina's a good defense, but I think volume, especially, when you're trying to save salary to get some high price guys in, that's where you go. You base on volume. Wide receiver is Tyreek Hill. This game, there is just so many points that can come out of this game in so many different ways. Tyreek Hill is the most explosive player on the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like he's going to have pretty high ownership, but in the same area, I think a lot of people are going to try to save money and jam in other things. Like Mecole Hardman, no one wants to play Mecole Hardman. He's not reliable. I think he'll get some ownership, probably more than what he should. Hill's
just a note too on Tyreek Hill. He was limited today and is listed as questionable with a hamstring. So if we are playing him, if you are plugging him into your lineup, which you should be, just keep an eye on that as well.
Schefter did say he is expected to play, but with hamstrings, you never know. He could go out there Sunday and warm ups, and the hamstring just be killing him. And he gets, even though he's expected to play, it's something you still need to monitor.
I mean, we saw it yesterday with Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so that happened in warm ups. So I mean, so yeah, just keep an eye on that.
It was reported 1 minute before kickoff too.
Yeah.
And he wasn't listed as inactive. He was active on the game.
Questionable. Yeah. He went in. 1 minute into. It's ridiculous. Our second wide receiver is going to be Mr. Calvin Ridley. I think this is going to be a big day for Calvin Ridley. I think this game right here could really play out Atlanta and Miami. That's the reason why we're getting some exposure to it as well. Ridley's not had the touchdowns like I thought he would this season, but he is definitely the man in Atlanta. And it's not even close. Like the other receivers, like Kyle Pitts is actually behind him in targets, but I like this matchup a lot, and I like Calvin Ridley to have a big day against Miami secondary. Landon, you're not going to like this. Okay. So everyone, this right here is a complete contrarian, get off the shot kind of thing. I think Bateman's going to be very popular on FanDuel and Draft Kings this week because his price tag is so low, and I think a lot of people are smart enough to know the upside and the talent of this guy. I want some Lamar Jackson exposure. And I think this could be a very cheap touchdown, and that's Devin Duvernay. Like I just have a hunch. I think this could be something that definitely could pay off for us. He is on the field a lot more than what I thought he was. I had to look at make sure it was correct, and I think this could go down as the season goes on, especially like with that rookie coming in and being fully healthy. But he's on the field at like 58% of the time, and he is a gadget guy, and their running game right now it's who knows who's running the football. Like I think last week that 2 of them had touchdowns. But I think he can get some carries.
They all 3 had touchdowns.
They all 3 had touchdowns.
Yes. Well, Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, and Latavius Murray.
Also. They completed the retirement home trifecta.
Yes.
And this week they get none because I have a feeling Lamar is going to get a lot of action this week. Yeah. But I definitely I think it's a sneaky pick, and I think it's a good one. Tight end is Mike Gesicki. The go with Tua. I think he's lining up the wide receiver basically. Him and Waddle, like even if Parker comes back, I don't think it's going to cut into anything with Waddle and Gesicki. I think it's going to be their field for the most part. This one's kind of a dart toss too, but god dang, he is on the field a lot more too. I had to double check all my stats. AJ Green. I think another thing, it's unreal. Like it's crazy. And he's getting targeted too. He's been targeted over DeAndre Hopkins in some weeks. It's nuts, but he's on the field quite a bit. It's a high scoring game. It's Houston. So anybody from Arizona could score. Another guy I like who's a little bit higher price is Christian Kirk this week. I really think he can have a big game as well. But I like AJ Green. His ADOT is higher than Christian Kirk's, and he's on the field more. And at the end of the day, like Kyler Murray can do Kyler Murray things, and a lot of people are going to be on the running game as well. In this with Chase Edmonds, I don't trust it. I just don't.
No, I think James Conner is a better play than Chase Edmonds this week.
Yeah,
honestly.
I actually have James Conner ranked higher than Edmonds.
Yeah, and I don't trust it either. I don't. I just know how all it takes is them get down the goal line and Kyler runs it in, and then you're screwed.
Yeah, he can vulture from as good as anybody.
And right now, Chase Edmonds is going at 20% ownership, which is insane to me. I just don't get it. I'm playing Booker over Edmonds. I could play Edmonds at the same salary. I would rather play Booker. And then defense is kind of a punt. It's the Eagles defense. I don't really have a reason it's a defense, so just put it in.
I actually kind of like that one, man. Whenever we were talking about our quarterback pass for this week, I had mentioned that I'm kind of nervous about Derek Carr this week, and the Eagles defense appears to be playing at least somewhat okay. Darius Slay looks good, and so I'm actually a little bit nervous of Derek Carr this week. I think that for 3,500, I think the Eagles defense is a solid play.
Yeah, I think so too. They had they had 2 really bad weeks, and it was against Kansas City and San Francisco. And they only gave up 17 points at San Francisco, but they just didn't do anything. They're getting a sack every game, basically. They're pretty close to that. Yeah. Oh, they had another one against Tampa. So I think it's definitely a pay down option, and it fits in the people you need to fit in. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think the Eagles could do it this week. And I guess we'll be moving over to DraftKings. Let's see here. I got to pull up my computer and everything. Of course, I always go over it with DraftKings. It is a different format than FanDuel. It is full point PPR opposed to half point PPR. And the price tags are a little bit more stingy on DraftKings than what they are on FanDuel. So you you got to be a little contrarian. And Landon, I'll make up for my Rashod Bateman hate in this lineup. Trust me, he's in there. So
hey, look, it's Rashod. It's Rashod.
I'm butchering names tonight.
Not
oh my
Rashod.
God.
Don't do my boy like that.
Well, I hope your boy pays off. But anyways, at quarterback, we got Lamar Jackson. Not a whole lot has to be said about this. I think his rushing, he's kind of taken it back a little bit here recently and been more of a pocket passer. I think Cincinnati actually is a pretty solid team against the run. And I think this will make Lamar become the running back in this game instead of the three-headed, I wouldn't even call it monster that they had going. I think Lamar Jackson goes off in this game running wise. I think he could come close to maybe 100 yards rushing. I know that sounds nuts, but he could definitely do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mentioned that earlier. I have him over 100 yards rushing whenever we did the quarterback smash. So,
yep, it's crazy.
Yep.
At running back, we got Chuba Hubbard at running back. We mentioned it earlier. Sam Darnold, we faded him. He's definitely our he was our fade of the week. I think if Carolina wins this game, I think they win it on the ground. I think Hubbard is definitely he's in line for a lot of work. There's nothing really stopping him. There's no competition in the backfield with McCaffrey on IR. It makes sense. And the Giants are a bad defense. I think they are. The eye test with Bradbury being there, I definitely feel like the running game is definitely the way to go opposed to the passing game in this situation. Our second running back, this guy's just been doing it, and that's Patterson of the Falcons. Like, I'm tired of being the one, like, every week I'm like, oh, there's no way Patterson's gonna do it again. There's no freaking way. And he keeps doing it, man. And I drafted Mike Davis. Like, I did. I drafted Mike Davis. I was like, they don't have any running backs. It's just Mike Davis. He'll get all of his carries. And Patterson has just completely taken over in that department.
I believe the last game was the first game that Patterson actually outsnapped Mike Davis.
Yeah.
So it's trending that direction.
Because of the price tag too, people are going to Mike Davis a lot. I don't trust it. I just don't. Like, I think Patterson's the route to go. On FanDuel, I do believe too, he's wide receiver and running back eligible, so you can play him to either position if you wanted to, which is kind of rare for football. Like, most time it's pretty set on the position it is. But yeah, I think Patterson's a great play on DraftKings. And I've got AJ Green again on DraftKings. We mentioned why. Calvin Ridley again on DraftKings. Tyreek Hill again on DraftKings. Same guys that were in our FanDuel lineup. And then we got our sleeper tight end. We got Cole Kmet at tight end. There's nothing sexy about it, but hopefully he gets the volume at the tight end position. And then we have Rashod Bateman in the flex position to match up with our Lamar Jackson skinny stack. And then we paid up for defense. We got the Arizona Cardinals defense.
Hey, I'm about it. So let's hopefully win some money this week. That will wrap up our show. We thank you guys so much for joining us. I'll let Drew do the closing as he does so well every week.
As always. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, before we do that, the Lakers are absolutely getting ran out the building.
Oh my God, again?
Yes, they're down by, I believe, 20 something at this point. And
wow,
Anthony Davis tried to fight Dwight Howard on the bench, and they had to be separated. So
they're playing Phoenix tonight.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see the Anthony Davis thing. That's kind of funny. So, hey, we do talk about more than football. There you go. You got a little sneak peek at what is possibly to come in the future. We before we hit record tonight, we talked about some changes we might be making with our midweek episode. So, a little sneak peek at what could be to come. So first and foremost, of course, as always, if you made it this far with us, thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us and listening to us talk about this sport that we love so much. We are anywhere podcasts can be found: Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever the case may be. We appreciate if you guys can go over there and follow, subscribe, whatever that platform wants you to do. And then if you want the visuals to go with the audio, we are on YouTube as well, the Amateur Experts Podcast. If you're not already on YouTube, if you could venture over there, subscribe to the channel. Make sure whenever you do subscribe, if you do, to click the little bell that's going to pop up so that you can be notified whenever new videos do go live. We're only putting out 2 episodes a week, so you're not going to get blown up by notifications, but You will know whenever they happen. And then while you're here on this video, if you could like the video, hopefully you've at least liked some of what you've heard if you've made it this far. So if you could like the video, and then of course as well, comment down below and let us know the picks you agree, disagree on, guys that you're high on this week or not so high on this week, then we might not have touched on throughout the show, because there are a lot of players, a lot of games, even with the bipocalypse and the injuries, that we, just simply can't get to every single person. So if there's some guys that you guys, have a strong feeling on one way or the other, let us know that as well. But, of course, the main thing is thank you guys for the support, and, we hope you continue to go along this crazy NFL ride with us.
Yes, for sure. And like he said, we appreciate all the support. So just let us know in the comments if you guys have anything you agree, you disagree, you have your own picks for the week. Let us know, and we will see you next week with a special episode that we have in the works. Not going to let too much slide, but we'll just be sure to listen. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you here shortly after week 7.